Hello, friends, and welcome into Fantasy Pros. This is the Fantasy Football Podcast. More importantly, this is the running back ranks for Week 7. I'm Chris Welsh. That's Pat Fitzmaurice and Andrew Erickson. We are here for you to be breaking down the top, at least 36 running backs. We're going to be looking at the big board in groups of 12, so we're calling them RB1s, RB2s, RB3s. Some of the bigger questions, some of the bigger rank differences, where you guys differ, who is suffering. And boy, every single week, I got to tell you, when we get to those running back threes, it does feel like people are throwing their hands up on just like names. Like there's nothing startable. The difference between the end of wide receiver threes and the end of running back threes is astronomical. There's such a big difference on startable players in the 30s at wide receiver fits to running backs that you want to start Ken Gainwell? You want to start RJ Harvey? No, you don't. You don't want to do that.
The running back 3 class is just a swamp right now, Welsh. It is. And I am in a few leagues where I kind of went with the 0 RB approach, and I'm throwing out guys like Zach Charbonnet and Woody Marks, and like it just doesn't feel good.
Erickson, we see tons of trade questions all the time. You and I do the show on Discord where it's very trade centric. Just as a quick aside before we get to the ranks, everybody and their mother has a glut of wide receivers and is trying to shore up their running backs. Do you think because of how bad the depth at running back is, it has made these conversations just almost irrelevant, where someone's like, hey guys, I've got ... Everyone has AJ Brown and wants to trade him. Well, good luck. Maybe you can get Tony Pollard at this point. But do you think with how big wide receivers been and how bad running backs are, you think it's even palatable right now to be able to go and buy a running back in any league? Because I really just don't, because it's like 20 strong, then a bunch of questions, and you're going to have to overpay in your wide receiver trades to get a running back.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to approach it, where the scarcity at the running back position is pushing up the value of the player, even though 1v1 in a vacuum, no, I'd rather much have this receiver than this running back, but that's not the game we're playing here. Like, you need a running back, so you have to give me a better wide receiver that's maybe in a completely different tier. So we'll talk about this player a little bit later, but the one guy I think is actually a buy, and I talked about it on the show with Worm, is actually Pacheco. And he's the guy that nobody wants, but It's been trending in the right direction for him the last couple of weeks, as I'll get into when we talk about his rank for Week 7. So, but yeah, you can get him because people don't like him.
Oh, well, I'm excited to have that conversation because I'm on the opposite end of that. No thanks, but hopefully it does trend in the right direction. All right, if you guys want to follow along with us, go to fantasypros.com/rankings. That is, we have a snapshot, by the way. So we are looking at this moment in time, what ECR looks like. It changes all the time as rankers update their ranks, as they add their ranks. So just, don't get up in arms if we say a guy is 7 and they're 9 now, hey guys. No, we know. This is just our snapshot, but you can follow along all week, fantasypros.com/rankings. Let's get the big board up, starting with our RB1s. Number 1 overall this week is Jonathan Taylor. Bijan Robinson is 2. Christian McCaffrey at 3. Jameer Gibbs, Josh Jacobs. That's your top 5. Devon Achane, Javonte Williams, Saquon down at 8. Quinshon Judkins at 9. Rico Dowdle, Rico Suave at 10. Kyron Williams and Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt at 12. Quinshon Judkins. Most disappointing game since he's been thrust into the starting role. He is ECR RB9. You would think maybe he would be down a tiny bit more. The problem, or the positive, Miami Dolphins. So Quinshon Judkins is a complete bounce back in my eyes. He is RB9 on this list. Fitzy, not as much of a maybe agreement. Not that you're down on him or anything. You're essentially ECR. But Erickson smash Judkins. You've got him at 4 this week. So talk to us about why the Dolphins are so bad at stopping the run and why Judkins is going to eat.
We all saw what Kimani Vidal did last week against this Miami Dolphins defense. We all saw Rico Dowdle did against this Miami Dolphins run. It's just terrible. It's one of the worst in the NFL, if not historically bad. And Quinshon Judkins, yes, he's coming off a bad game, but it was a terrible spot for him. Playing against a rested Steelers defense on the road. The Browns are favorites. I don't know if they're going to be favored ever again this season. And they're playing at home.
Ever in the history.
So this is a smash spot for him from every single angle you look at the Browns game. They're playing a team that could fire their head coach after this game. Could Judkins be the reason why Mike McDaniel doesn't have a job after Sunday?
Ooh.
It's very, very possible. So I'm all in on Judkins. That's why I have him at 4. Honestly, I thought about maybe putting him up at 3, but McCaffrey just has such a high floor with the receiving that I couldn't put him behind him. And obviously JT and Bijan as 1 and 2. So yeah, Judkins RB4 for me, and you can somehow buy him after a bad week. Do it.
I'm a Judkins smash. You want a little preview on the prop show this week, Erickson? I think you were, I don't know if it was off air, on air, but you said, hey, Jerry Judy time. It's Quinshon Judkins time for the prop show this week. So I'm in agreement. And by the way, hearts all break for us, where we all knew the Dolphins were a smash for the running back. We just unfortunately thought it was Hassan Haskins and not Kimani Vidal. We got that answer pretty quick. But Judkins is in like a really phenomenal spot. Fitzy, again, you're not negative or anything like that. You're 1 spot lower than consensus. You got him as a top 10 running back this week. Maybe you just don't think he's going to have the tippy top production. He is a Brown. But what do you think about Judkins this week?
Yeah, there's like a tug of war for me going on here, Welsh, with Judkins. Like, on the one hand, obviously a great matchup against the Dolphins, and maybe the Dolphins do wave the white flag. In defense of Mike McDaniel, the Dolphins have not laid down in any game. They got crushed in that first game against the Colts, and they've been competitive in every game since. They're just not, things are not working out for them at the end of games. But like Quinshon Judkins is kind of starting to feel the pull of gravity in the Cleveland Browns offense. He averaged 5.5 yards per carry in his first 2 games. He's at 4.1 yards per carry over his last 3. He only has 3 targets and 1 reception in Dylan Gabriel's first 2 NFL starts. And I kind of worry about that. Like, if there's not any sort of passing game production to help lift up Judkins, like, he has to smash as a runner. And maybe he just does, and I'm overthinking this, and he has 150 yards and 2 touchdowns against the Dolphins. Entirely possible. But I don't know. It's just this Browns offense is kind of sickly. He's not catching passes, and recent production. Granted, yeah, Steelers, tough matchup for sure. But I just wonder if in this offense he can take advantage of the matchup.
Judkins smash for me. Rico Dowdle comes in at 10. Now, I think we're presumably having Chubb back this week. I think that's the conversation. A report, Jeremy Fowler out there said, I mean, this is kind of like a no-brainer, that both running backs would get would both get touches. Like, duh, they're going to get both touches. I think the question is like, will there be like a starter? This seems to come on the heels of like, it doesn't really matter who starts. They're both going to go. So this kind of opens up this full conversation. Fitz, you've got him at 9. Erickson, you've got him at 13. Difference between an RB1 and an RB2. I think Rico looks like the guy, but regardless of being the guy, he's been so amazing because he's getting 30 plus touches. If that cuts down to 15, does he still deservedly, should he be in these spots, especially versus the Jets? So Fitz, let's start with you. You're the high guy on him. Do you buy any of the reports? Do you think Rico is going to get 20 plus touches? Like, how do you sparse him out as an RB1 this week? Because I think there'll be a ton of questions about, am I safe to start Rico this week?
Yeah, so right now I'm tentatively ranking Rico as if Hubbard isn't back, and it's going to be a real dilemma if he is back, because how do you weigh this? The 2 fantastic games that Chuba Hubbard has had, and he's making Bryce Young look better too in these 2 games. Like, he's making Bryce Young's job easier. But at the same time, Chuba Hubbard played really well last season in sort of an uphill struggle in this Panthers offense, and hadn't been quite as effective early this year, but he's got, I don't know, maybe some goodwill built up with this coaching staff. So Rico Dowdle has had 60 touches the last 2 weeks, 53 carries, 7 catches. Like, I'm not predicting 30 touches for Rico this week, but if he does have the backfield to himself again, pretty good bet for around 20 touches. And the Jets' run defense has actually been pretty good, but the Panthers' offensive line has been absolutely mashing in the running game. So I'd have to give it a little think as to how I'm going to rank these guys. If Chuba Hubbard is back, I'm still probably going to have Rico ranked a little bit higher, maybe projecting that they don't give Chuba a full workload right away.
What would be the vicinity? Like, you don't have to give it an exact number, but like, would he hover in the top 20? Would he be outside the top 20 or 25? How would you do it?
Yeah, I mean, I would probably have Rico around like high-end RB2. Like 16, 17, and maybe a Hubbard like down around, I don't know, in like Tony Pollardsville, like RB 28 or so.
Okay. Our injury expert Deepak Chona a couple weeks ago had said that based on this analysis, it looked like around could be a 2 to 3 week injury for Chuba. He had essentially said week 5 and 6 you would have Chuba out. So this is what opens up the window. Erickson, is your rank at 13 relative to both of these guys being active, or is 13 only with Rico being the starter?
Yeah, that was just with Rico being the starter. Just kind of acknowledging that he's had the 2 best matchups you could ask for a running back the last 2 weeks. And look, the Jets defense played well against Denver. Denver had been a team that was running the ball over a lot of other defenses, and they couldn't really run the ball at all between J.K. Dobbins and R.J. Harvey. So I think the matchup is tougher, and it's also on the road. Guys, the Carolina Panthers play like a completely different team when they're not playing at home. Like Bryce Young, I don't know what the deal is, but he goes from like being a competent quarterback at home to just being absolutely terrible on the road. So that concerns me about this just offense overall. And then if you are splitting the pie between Hubbard and Dowdle, look, if Chuba Hubbard plays, I think it's going to be a 50-50 split. Like, and that's kind of what the reports are kind of suggesting, that yes, Rico Dowdle has been absolutely fantastic the last 2 weeks, but to Fitz's point, Chuba played really well last year. This season, they're both top 4 in rushing success rate. Last year, they both rushed for 1,000 yards. Like, they're both good running backs. Like, it's not, oh, Rico's great, Hubbard sucks. That's not the case here. Like, they're both really good running backs. Hubbard got hurt. Rico stepped in, had great matchups, and smashed. So I think that, yes, he has earned a right to see touches in this offense. But if Hubbard had stayed healthy, he would have smashed too. And, like, there wouldn't really be this conversation or discussion. So I think you shouldn't be just pouring so much cold water on Chuba Hubbard, because he is their starter. He is the guy that they paid to be their starting running back for the long term. And Rico is on a 1-year deal. They're both good running backs. The matchup's not as good. So I do think, though, that when you're comparing the Carolina Panthers to a lot of these other dual backfields, like, you want to play a Panthers running back or a Patriots running back? I think I'll probably play a Panthers running back. Do you want to play a Panthers running back or a Texans running back? Give me the Panthers running back. Like I think you want to play those guys even with the touch ambiguity, because I think that we should probably see both guys see double-digit touches, because the Panthers are more than happy to run the football and not necessarily have Bryce Young drop back to throw 40 times a game with only really one strong receiver. So I think they both have floors, but they'll probably end up being in that outside the top 20, 24 range for me.
Okay,
yeah,
that's
Bryce,
what I was going to ask. What range?
I was just going to say Bryce has thrown 30 or fewer passes in each of his last 4 games, and the Panthers are 3-1 over that span. Like, I think it pays to hide Bryce Young as much as possible in that offense.
All right, those are your running back ones. We're going to get to your running back twos, but we've got a special offer for you guys where you can unlock a month of Betting Pros Premium for free. Download the Betting Pros app today. Use promo code FP1 month. So FP1 month. Get access to tools like the Same Game Parlay tool, the Prop Bet Analyzer, and the Prize Picks Prop Bet Cheat Sheet. Don't miss out. Try it for free for 1 month now. Again, that is promo code FP1 month. It's available on iOS and Android. Go and do it today. RB2s. We're going to kick it off with number 13, Ashton Genty. Cam Skattebo at 14, Breece Hall, Rashad White, J.K. Dobbins, Jalen Warren, DeAndre Swift, Travis Etienne at 20, Jordan Mason at 21, Kimani Vidal, Chase Brown, and Alvin Kamara. Let's jump back into the Cam Skattebo space. ECR 14, Fitzy, you're in agreement. Erickson, you're a little bit lower. Cam doesn't have, I guess on paper, it's a great matchup. It is funny. The matchup star rating actually gives him a 4 out of 5 matchup. So Fitzy, you're the high guy or ECR guy for Cam Skattebo. It's been amazing. How is he going to follow up the 3 touchdown performance? Is it going to be RB2 worthy?
It will be, and high-end RB2 worthy, and I'm a little disappointed in Erickson having him ranked significantly lower than I do. Clearly, Erickson just doesn't like fun anymore. He got
why
married.
do you hate Cam Skattebo, Erickson?
He got married. He does things like winterize his sprinkler system for fun these days.
I mean,
like, you know Cam Skattebo is going to get a lot of touches this week. He's averaging just under 20 carries a game over the last 3 weeks. He's averaging 4 catches a game over the last 4 weeks. The guy's freaking indestructible, and you know the Giants are going to lean on him against a tough Denver defense that absolutely wrecks opposing passing attacks. And I know Denver's good against the run too, but I think volume is the key for Skattebo. They're just going to feed this guy, and he's been really good lately.
Fitzy's got him as a high RB2. Erickson, you got him as a mid RB2. So as he says, you hate him. So Erickson, why do you think Cam Skattebo is going to fail?
I don't think he's going to fail.
I
don't think he's going to score 3 touchdowns again. And I think the matchup is much tougher. And they're playing on the road. Where did we see the Giants not play nearly as well in Jackson Dart's 3 starts? Was on the road in New Orleans against a much weaker defense. Now he's gone on the road against Denver. We talked about this on the Betting Pro show, where one of the most profitable ways to bet against rookie quarterbacks is their early starts on the road. So they're massive underdogs playing in Denver against a defense that gave up 0 explosive plays for an entire game against the New York Jets. Breece Hall got a ton of carries and did nothing with them because they were stuffing out the run at every single opportunity. So that's just my read on the play, just the matchup. Again, you're still starting because, again, he has the really, really high volume touch floor. I will say, too, like right now I have Dowdle ahead of him. Like I'm going to move Dowdle down if Chuba Hubbard ends up playing. So he will move up 1 or 2 spots. So closer to a mid RB2 for me. Maybe not as high as ECR at 14, but closer to ECR.
You guys have these 2 guys flipped, where Fitzy's high on, or ECR, and Skattebo, and Erickson's a little bit lower. J.K. Dobbins, ECR 17. Fitzy, you're a couple spots lower, but Erickson, you've got him at RB 14. So the Cam Skattebo spot goes to J.K. Dobbins. Dobbins has got the Giants this week. It is a very good matchup. He's a beast. R.J. Harvey has not taken over a lot of the force there. So I actually am in agreement with you. I like Dobbins, I think, over Skattebo this week. But Erickson, let's hear your take on J.K. Dobbins.
Yeah, I think that last week just wasn't a great spot for the Denver Broncos run game. They did miss one of their starting offensive guards, so that does kind of concern me long term. If we see the Broncos running game struggle again, okay, this is a really big difference when it comes to this offensive lineman missing. But the Giants have been a team that you can run all over unless you're the Philadelphia Eagles. So I like them in this spot here. The Broncos playing at home, strong home favorites. You should be seeing a positive game script. J.K. Dobbins has touchdown equity. So, again, Skattebo and Dobbins for me is just, I'm just looking at the matchup, right? And according to Vegas, the Denver Broncos should win by a touchdown at home. What does that mean? Okay, the running back should eat for Denver here. Dobbins should score 1, if not 2 touchdowns against a really bad run defense. So that's why I like Dobbins.
Fitz, I'm actually curious because you are a little bit lower. I feel like he would be the type of guy you would really like. Like, are you worried about the offense that you saw in London? There's a hangover from coming back. Like, where is Dobbins going a little bit lower for you versus what is a really good matchup?
Maybe a small part of it is the London hangover. But, yeah, it is a great matchup. I mean, unless you have a garbage running back like Saquon Barkley, you can run all over the Giants. Giants are 31st in DVOA against the run. I guess part of it is that Dobbins hasn't been really involved as a pass catcher, just 5 receptions in 5 games. We haven't seen a usage spike for R.J. Harvey, but like, would it shock anyone if there was suddenly a week where R.J. Harvey had 50% of the offensive snaps? So a little trepidation there. Just, I wish we were getting the full Monty from Dobbins as far as like running and contributing as a pass catcher. And it's just strange. Like, this seems like the year where Sean Payton's running backs are less involved in the passing game than they've ever been in any of his offenses ever. And it seems like it's going to continue to work that way now, especially with Evan Engram healthy again for the Broncos. So it's kind of one-dimensional usage for him. And maybe he smashes against this bad run defense, but I don't know. There are just some things that have me kind of cautious about the Dobbins ranking.
Former Charger to Bronco to former Bronco to Charger. Shout out to me for not screwing this up. Kimani Vidal, ECR RB 22. Like I mentioned before, we really thought it was going to be Haskins. It kind of there's just so many pieces to it. It was like Vidal is the practice squad guy, and Haskins is going to get the first kind of shot and run. Nope. Vidal just was the dude. He looked super efficient. Great attempt percentage was up. I mean, he looks like he is the guy in an offense that wants to run the ball. ECR 22. You guys are a little bit flipped though. Erickson, you got him as an RB2. Fitzy's got him outside. It's not anything crazy. But Erickson, let's start with you. You are a high guy on him. I am in more of your camp of this. I think Vidal is like a top 20 guy. He got 20 plus touches. I don't see why that's going to change. He's going up against an Indianapolis Colts defense, which, you know, if you're going to be able to successfully pass some, it's going to create more run opportunities. They used him a lot. I like Vidal this week, and I will suggest him after being wrong with Haskins. What say you, Erickson?
Yeah, I like him a lot this week too. I think that he's a strong start. Now, not going to put nearly up the type of production I think that he did last week against the Miami Dolphins.
Sure.
Again, I think the Colts are an average matchup, but the production aside, you're looking at the usage, right? Let's say he had a okay game against the Miami Dolphins. The usage is what we'd be talking about, where he played 70% of the snaps. Like, he out-snapped Haskins 43-20, out-carried him 18-6. 124 rushing yards, 3 catches for 14 yards, and a touchdown. He was used in all facets of the game. He was used as a pass catcher. He was used in the red zone, which has actually been used 2 weeks in a row in the red zone. So even last week in the game where Hampton got hurt, Vidal had 3 red zone touches, and that carried over into this game as well when he had, I think, 8 red zone touches. So they're using him a ton in the areas of the field that we care about the most. Will he be as productive? I don't think so, because it's not nearly as great of a matchup, but you play for the Chargers offense. The one thing that the Chargers can feel good about with their offensive line is the interior. Like, that is still somewhat intact. It's the tackles that have kind of been the issues with most of the injuries. So I think they do need to establish some type of run game to kind of help keep the pressure off of Justin Herbert, keep him upright against the Colts defense that can get off the pass rusher a little bit. So yeah, I think that he's a really solid start from here on out till we see Hampton come back.
Boy, we're just waiting for like, it'll be 20 touches for Haskins this week, and then we're just going to be like, never start a Chargers running back because we don't know. But Fitz, what do you think? RB 25, you've got him just outside of like the startable RB2 range. Are you not sold on the offensive line? Are you not sold on their running situation? What do you think about Vidal?
I'm glad Erickson mentioned the offensive line, because like if Joe Alt comes back this week, I will probably move up Vidal like 3 spots and be more in line with ECR. But they're just still really banged up there, and no Alt makes a big difference. And Erickson mentioned the difference in the matchup, going from this cakewalk matchup against the Miami Dolphins to a matchup against more of a neutral matchup. Like, a lot of credit to Lou Anarumo for the job he's done with the Colts defense, which has been pretty credible this year. So, man, I do like Vidal a lot. Like, I don't want to bag on this guy. The all-time leading rusher for Troy University, and a guy who's like, his contact balance is pretty awesome. Like, he's not quite Devon Achane or Ashton Genty in that department, but he's good. This guy bounces off tackles. So I like Vidal, but tougher matchup and still a banged up offensive line. If Alt's back, though, I'm going to move up Vidal in my rankings.
Yeah, this could be the first time Vidal actually faces an NFL run defense, because he didn't face one last week.
Dominate your fantasy football league with Fantasy Pros Premium, now available free for 6 months when you deposit and place your first wager on one of our partner sports books. The easiest way to get full access to our top fantasy tools all season long. And just because it's week 7 does not make it too late. Go to fantasypros.com/premium to get started today. All right, RB3s, that is 25 through 36. We start with Ken Walker at 25, David Montgomery, Ramondre Stevenson, Tony Pollard, Travion Henderson, Isiah Pacheco. That's your top 30. We got Bam Knight at 31, Zach Charbonnet, Woody Marks, Kenny Gainwell, Nick Chubb, and RJ Harvey. You can see as it gets grosser down the list. Tony Pollard, ECR 28. Fitzy, you've got him at 28. Erickson, you've got him at 31. They fire the coach. Tajay Spears is in town. I am of the that I think that Spears is going to be used more and more in this offense, and I don't think Pollard is going to be phased out or anything like that, but Spears had some moments here. What do you think, Fitzy? You've got him at 28. It's kind of a flex option. He doesn't feel good to me. Where are you at on Tony Pollard?
Doesn't feel good to me either, quite honestly. Tajay Spears outsnapped Pollard last week and just looked better. It's possible I'm underreacting to that, and the Patriots' run defense is pretty good. I do still think Pollard is a pretty good bet for at least 12 touches, which is the number of touches he had last week against the Raiders. But it's possible we see a major backfield shift here, and if I accordingly shift in my rankings, it's going to be downward for Pollard and upward for Spears.
Upward or downward for you, Erickson, on Tony Pollard? Is it Tajay Spears season coming?
Yeah, I think it is. When you're just reading how these guys have been used traditionally, Spears is the pass catching back. So when they're playing in a negative game script, he's playing more snaps than Tony Pollard is. And Pollard, the only way he pays off is if he scores, right? I still think that he would probably have the first crack at a red zone opportunity. So that's kind of the one thing that works in his favor, because everything else about this matchup just is terrible. I think that the Patriots are a really good run defense. They've really stopped the run this season. And Spears is more effective as a rusher. Last week, 6.2 yards per carry, 60% success rate to Pollard's 20% success rate. We also don't know what the backfield shift is going to look like under a new play caller. Like, it's all brand new. They just fired their head coach. So I do think that maybe they get a little bit of juice just from that dead cat bounce type of angle where, oh, yeah, they fired Callahan. Like, we're going to come out of the gates. And maybe Pollard scores. But besides that, I mean, you look at his game logs. When he doesn't score, it's RB30, RB29, RB32, RB33. So, like, that's probably what you're going to get from him at the floor. But that's not even considering a lot of those games came without Spears playing. So I think that he is a low floor, low ceiling, just someone that I don't want to play this week. Like, quite frankly, someone I would rather play somebody else. I get that he has, like, a certain projection and we have to rank him in a certain way. But, I mean, we're talking about upside. Give me RJ Harvey. I mean, he can at least rip off a big run against a terrible Giants defense. Is that going to happen for Tony Pollard? Like, probably not. So, yeah, I'm trying to get away from him.
You have Spears ranked higher, Erickson?
I don't, but I should. So I'm going to make that move.
It's kind of how I feel, too.
Make the move, boys. Make the move. Bam Knight. I have seen no less than 20,000 questions of Michael Carter, Bam Knight this week. The whole mess of, like, it's going to be Bam starting and then Carter starting. Like, it just has everybody kind of thrown off. Bam Knight is the one that's ranked higher, ECR 31. Neither one of you guys are super optimistic about it. Erickson, we'll start with you. You're the least optimistic about Bam at 40. But what say you with the Michael Carter element to it? So just wrap that in. Bam Knight and Michael Carter.
I prefer Michael Carter much more this week than Bam Knight. Michael Carter had more touches last week. He also has 5 targets in both games played the last 2 weeks. They're playing the Green Bay Packers. Are we expecting the Cardinals to play with a lead in this game? I don't think that. I think it's more of a negative game script. Now, I could be wrong with projecting game script, but I'm just going with what I think is the most likely outcome. And that means you're going to see more Michael Carter on the field. So I'm not trying to be swayed by, yeah, I know Bam Knight played 51% of the snaps that led the Arizona backfield, but Michael Carter played 44. And if Amari Demercado is out, then Michael Carter's taking all of the pass down work. So Bam Knight, is he going to score 3 touchdowns in 3 weeks? Maybe he will, and that's what pays, but he is touchdown or bust. And against a Green Bay Packers defense, I'm going to bet against him scoring, which is why I have him completely buried this week. I have no confidence in playing Bam Knight. I think that if you've been starting him the last couple of weeks, like, you're really happy that it's worked out, but I think that it's going to end in a very, very bad way. I think it's probably going to happen this week.
Yeah, see, that's where I'm at. It's not even about Bam versus Carter as much as, like, neither. Like, I don't want to start either, because the reason I like Knight over Carter is because of the touchdown equity, because all the things of, like, Carter get more opportunities, and it's like, great, 14 carries for 30 yards. I don't care about that. I'll take the donut versus the touchdown equity, but neither one of these guys versus this defense do I really want to play. So I'm a little surprised Bam is ranked maybe in the high level that he's at. Fitzy, what do you think? Do you think this is too high of an ECR rank on Bam Knight?
I do, and I should maybe be a little closer to where Erickson is. Erickson summed it up really well. Like, if there is a negative game script, and I know Bam Knight played more snaps than Carter last week, but it was like a 5-snap edge. Yeah. It was pretty close to even. And, I don't like making sweeping assumptions about game script, but if a game is close to a touchdown in the spread, like, you have to figure that it's probably going to be more likely than not a negative game script for the Cardinals. And I do think Carter is the guy you want in a negative game script. Bam Knight is probably the guy you want in a positive game script. And against the Packers as 6.5-point dogs, I think it's probably going to be a negative game script.
In fantasy sports, flexibility is everything, especially when you're managing injuries, bye weeks, or tough matchups. Your finances deserve the same level of control, and that's exactly what Klarna delivers. Klarna is your smarter, everyday spending partner. Inside the app, you can track purchases, compare prices, find deals, earn cash back, and choose to pay now or later with no interest when payments are made on time. It's the kind of tool that helps you stretch your money further and make every purchase count. This isn't about spending more, it's about spending wisely. Klarna fits seamlessly into how you already shop, whether you're picking up groceries, upgrading tech, or even just keeping an eye on your budget. Klarna gives you the financial flexibility to shop smart and stay in control, just like a good roster move. Download the Klarna app or head to Klarna.com to learn more. CA resident loans made or arranged pursuant to a California finance law license, NMLS number 1353190. Klarna balance account required. Klarna may get a commission. Limitations, terms, and conditions apply.
This was teased at the top of the show, so here we go. Apparently, Isiah Pacheco season is upon us. He is ECR RB 30. Fitz, you're just about there, 29. Erickson, almost for statement, you should just put him 2 spots higher just to make him an RB 24 so an RB 2. You got him at 26, and you said that you think this is the time to buy in. But is this the time to start him versus the Raiders this week? Erickson, let's start with you.
Yeah, I think that you can, and all I got to do is move him ahead of Alvin Kamara and Ken Walker, who is the second running back on his team. So maybe I can make that switch to the top 24 pretty easily. So the thing with Pacheco that I like a lot is I think they're really trying to get him going. They talked about that on the broadcast after he had one of his first carries in the first quarter. They said, yeah, they're really trying to get Pacheco a larger workload in this offense. And we saw that in the game. He played 77% of the snaps. That was a season high. He also had a season high in carries at 12. And that was after he hit season high numbers in week 5. So it's trending in the right direction. I think that he's looked the part. Against the Lions, 4 rushes at 15 plus yards. He had 4 of those types of rushes combined leading up to week 6. So he's getting a workload bump. Check. He's looking more explosive. Okay, check. Red zone usage. 4 red zone carries to Hunt's 1 against the Lions. Check. So he's starting to check off all of the boxes we're looking for of a running back. Hey, they're 10.5 point favorites at home. He has touchdown equity. We're talking about Bam Knight's touchdown equity. What about Isiah Pacheco's touchdown equity? I think that's here, especially because he's getting used more in the red zone instead of Kareem Hunt. And the matchup against the Raiders. So on paper, doesn't look great. The Raiders have actually been pretty decent against running backs overall this season. But part of the reason is they like to stack the box. The Raiders actually have one of the highest stack box rates this season. But we've talked about this 2 guys the last couple weeks, Achane and Krosky Merritt. Yes, teams will stack the box to try to suffocate running backs, but what happens is sometimes they over-pursue, and then it creates a lot of big running plays. Pacheco, against stack boxes this season, 7.5 yards per carry. 3rd highest in the NFL. 4th in success rate. He's ripping off the big run this week. Pacheco.
Isiah Pacheco over under 14.5.
Welsh is not convinced.
No, I'm not. 14.5 rush attempts over under Erickson.
14.5?
I'm going to say, yeah, so 15 rush attempts. No, it's not, but
Yeah.
he might be the one out in public.
It probably won't be that high, but I'll take the over. Sure.
You can take the over? Okay. He has not had 15 rush attempts since the first 2 weeks of last season. In the return this season, he has not had it.
You mean when Rashee Rice was on the team? You know who's back this week? Rashee Rice.
Oh, because Rashee Rice will be back, so that's going to make they're going to be like, now we need to use more Pacheco because now we need more weapons. Fitzy, what do you think about Pacheco? I've been like a Debbie Downer on him the whole season just because of I think the backfield is muddy. I'm not sold that it's going to change, but there's a compelling case that this might be the start of it. What do you think?
I'm kind of with you. I don't have a real sense of certainty about this. And I would love to believe, because I do have Isiah Pacheco in a few leagues, and I would love to think that the fact that he outsnapped Kareem Hunt 49-19 last week means that the Chiefs really are in the process of kicking Kareem Hunt to the curb. But I just don't know if the usage shift is sticky or not. Plus, Kareem Hunt has been the primary goal line back this season. I know Pacheco got a little bit of usage there last week. It's just, and despite the 49 snaps, Isiah Pacheco only had 13 touches last week in a game where it was a positive game script throughout for the Chiefs, holding a lead against the Lions pretty much that whole game. Brashard Smith is in the mix too, and maybe the Chiefs just keep throwing like crazy now that Rashee Rice is back. I mentioned in the show we did with wide receivers, their passing rate over expected against the Lions, plus 13.5% last week. So it just seems like the Chiefs are back to being this aerial assault. I don't know whether Pacheco is going to be like a plus fantasy asset for people.
But legit, Erickson, for our prop show on Betting Pros this week, you know that number is going to be, it cannot be higher than 11.5 rush attempts. Like, it should be 10 points
last week. So
I know, that's why, like,
around, yeah.
But he's hit it once. So, like, maximum 12.5. It's probably 11.5. That should already be one of your
Lock
bets.
it in.
Lock it in.
Lock it in.
Lock it in. Come and listen to that show. All right, let's finish.
The overtaker.
Yeah, the overtaker. That's 100% right. Let's finish off with another running back debate, because as we've, kind of hit ad nauseum, it gets pretty gross down in this territory. But how about the Texans running back situation? And what is interesting about this is ECR is really close. So it's kind of a hand-up situation. Nick Chubb is 35 versus Woody Marks at 33. You two are split on who you like more. Fitzy's in favor of Nick Chubb. Erickson, you're in favor of Woody Marks. Fitzy, let's let you have the table here for Nick Chubb.
Yeah, I don't feel strongly about this, but the last time we saw the Texans before their Week 6 bye, Nick Chubb was out-touching Woody Marks 11-7. Chubb isn't going to disappear. I think everyone thought we were getting the Woody Marks backfield takeover, but I think it's going to be 50-50. Now, maybe Marks is the right play this week because the Seahawks have allowed, I think, the second most receiving yards to running backs. So maybe things should skew a little bit towards Woody Marks, depending on the game script. But again, I don't want to make sweeping assumptions about game script. I still think Nick Chubb is probably the better bet for a touchdown between these two backs. So I do think it's a really close call here. I still give a very, very slight edge to Nick Chubb.
Erickson, is Woody Marks the right call for this week?
I'm leaning in that direction, and that's just because I saw the Seahawks defense pressure Trevor Lawrence on 50% of his dropbacks last week, and if that's going to be the case, then CJ Stroud's going to have to find a check down option. And I think that that's more likely to be Woody Marks than Nick Chubb. I think this is a brutal matchup for both guys on the ground. This Texans offensive line took steps against the Ravens JV squad. Will that work against the Seahawks on the road? Probably not. So I think it's dump-off season for Woody Marks, and that's why I have him ranked running back 34 this week. So very, very confident. So, yeah.
Very exciting for both of those guys. Lots of questions at the running backs. And if you've got more, remember, we got that weekly Start and Sit live stream on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Fantasy Pros. If you're watching on YouTube, you're like, duh, we know, we're here. But if you're on the podcast, make sure to go subscribe, click on notifications. Thursday, 3 p.m. Eastern is when we will be live for that every Thursday. So come and bring your running back questions or any other fantasy questions. We got you covered. That's going to do it for our Week 7 running back ranks. I'm Welsh. That's Fitz. Erickson. We're out. Peace.